Welcome to the Value Maker podcast. My name is Ryan Purvis. I'm your host, supported by Heather Bicknell, as we meet with the people that make the digital workspace work. It's about the technology, it's about improving people's work experience and finding the return on value. Welcome, Ben, to the Value Makers podcast. Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
So my name is Ben Johnson. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've done 5 basically startup to exit businesses. And now I run a software development firm called Particle41. And we focus on cloud engineering, data science, and just normal good old fashioned software engineering. And I am also a fractional CTO.
Oh, fantastic. So where did Particle 41 come from as the name?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. So niobium is the 41st element. We didn't name the company that mostly because spelling that is sometimes difficult. But it's an interesting element. If you're around in the 80s, you know there is this niobium jewelry. It was like pot metal jewelry. It makes metal where you can anodize it. So you can put a sheen effect. If you go to like a fluid dynamics or a petroleum plant, like normally the pipes will be a color like blue. And niobium allows that oxidation to take place. But it also makes steel stronger and more flexible. And so, making a business, partnering with us, we aspire to make the business stronger, more flexible, and maybe even make their solutions look a little better.
Oh, I love it. That's a really interesting spin on something. How did you come across it? Just a random thing? Or
I actually was reading a Daniel Suarez book. I'm a big sci-fi fan. In the beginning of Influx was the book. There's Lab 44. They invent anti-gravity, and that's at the very beginning of the book. So no spoilers here. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I like this idea of a name and number combination. And we also were really into kind of this idea that software development is more of a science than an art form. And so we started to lean into that. We love the Agile process. We think that the process of software engineering makes it more like science. Most people treat development like an art form. And so, the science component mixed with this idea of a name and a number, and it just fell into place.
Oh, that's really interesting. I haven't read much of his stuff in a while, and I think Damon was the first one I read, which was the AI and intelligence across the network. Came up again, actually. Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah, I find the Influx one is super entertaining. I mean, what book is not going to be entertaining when they invent anti-gravity in the first chapter?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got a wonderful mind. I remember listening to an interview of his, and I can't remember what the book was. It wasn't that one, I think a different one. And just thinking, how does this guy come up with this stuff? That always fascinated me. So tell me more about your business. How do you show value with your customers?
So we say that we are the special operators of software development and cloud engineering. It is your internal employees are intended to be they're very much like the regular army. You're going to support them. You're going to make sure that they're well fed and they're well taken care of and they have good benefits. And we want to be the special operators that come in when you have a gap and you need something very specific executed. We love application modernization, and really we want to replace the world's legacy code. We feel like there's a bunch of old code out there that's insecure and difficult to support. And we're also seeing a changing of the guard in COBOL stacks, Delphi stacks, even like monolithic Java applications are holding companies behind. And so we want to help them advance. And so think of us as a SEAL Team 6 that can come in and help accelerate those types of projects.
And are you guys multi-language in that respect, or do you have a certain skill set that you leverage to do that?
Yes, we are very multi. I even have one group that is an award-winning group on Unity development, creating safety applications inside of the VR headset. So what a great business idea that our client had to find these safety applications. Like, who wants to sit a newbie into a forklift and say, hey, go move boxes? So they can spend a few hours in VR, figure out the basic inner workings of a forklift, accomplish some achievements within the VR environment, and then, okay, now let's put you into the real world training scenarios. And we've done like a handful of these. So I mentioned that just to mention some of our diversity in software development. But what we see most are the enterprise languages, .NET, a huge amount of Node, JavaScript, both on the server side and on the client side. And then, of course, we're seeing Java with Kotlin back with Kotlin as kind of the new syntax layer, much in the same way we're seeing TypeScript as the syntax of choice in the JavaScript environments.
Yeah, that example that you used is actually a great one for me because I was involved in shipping for a while, and we were looking at calling them serious games, where we're going to build training material using Oculus, or what's the other one called? Headset, basically to train someone for safety. How do you identify a potential maintenance issue that could lead to a safety issue and that sort of thing? So I haven't found anywhere yet that's actually delivered anything in that space yet. So it's quite nice to get someone actually has.
Yeah, our client's name, I think they would love a little bit of promotion here, is Next Wave Safety. That one of the founders and CTO of that organization was the former CTO of Rockstar Games. His name's Gary Foreman, and he's a great guy to work with. We love working with them, and they are really leading the charge on amazing safety experiences in the Oculus environment.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to ask you which headset you use. Yeah, it's Oculus. Because I played with the Apple headset the other day, and I was quite impressed with that as a device. But although I don't think it's a practical device per se, with the battery pack you got to carry around, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll get better in the next version.
Yeah, no, it has to reduce the form factor has to reduce. But I feel like we get closer to Neil Stephenson books every day, with this. That one especially makes me feel like Neil Stephenson, who's like another one of my favorite sci-fi writers, probably a little more of a favorite than even Daniel Suarez. One of my favorite books from him is Quicksilver, which is like the subtitle of it is like a little girl's illustrated primer. The whole premise of the book, again, you'll find this in chapter 1, so no spoiler, is this idea of a primer, which is really kind of like a digital tablet. Like it has digital pages, like there's some flipping that the book describes, but he's well before the iPad, and he's describing the iPad teaching a child. And so, yeah, like you're like, man, I have 4 kids. I'm living in a Neil Stephenson book right now where they would, one of our biggest challenges as parents is keeping the iPad away from the kids and respecting normal, healthy boundaries on screen time and all of that. And so, yeah, once the goggles come out and we're spending decent amount of time in a metaverse, which is like a historically classic sci-fi concept, then I really do feel like we're very much like, I'd love to see what sci-fi authors are going to write about next, because we seem to have arrived there.
It's funny you just made that last comment. That's exactly what I was thinking about it. What is the sci-fi person write now? Because there's so many ideas from Doyle days to, iRobot. We're seeing that stuff now. So what else is there to write? I mean, it can only be, multidimensional kind of stuff, I would think, or even more extraterrestrial stuff. Have you read a guy named Rick Brown?
No, I have not. But I love the recommendation.
Yeah. RYK Rick Brown. He writes the Frontier Saga, and the plan is 75 books written over 5 series, and it's more about jump technology. And it's the future where people have left the Earth and they've spread out across the galaxy, and jump technology is the way you join things together. It's quite as well written.
So some teleportation capability, some interstellar travel. Yeah, that's cool. There's another trend coming up, which I find interesting, where the metaverse in context is a game, this like RPG lit. And a guy named Travis Bagwell has made a really, I think he was a programmer. The guy should design a game based on his RPG lit, because he's kind of brought this idea of living half in reality and half in a game to life in a new way. And I love his work. Yeah, Travis Bagwell, and like he's got
I'll write him down as well.
really cool thing going. He's pounded out a bunch of books, but I would say like the first one is just extremely captivating.
Yeah, there was the guy who wrote a book. It's called the Bobbyverse. He dies. He's a programmer, and he dies, and he gets put into becomes an AI when he dies. I can't remember what the actual term was, but basically he creates a whole Bobbyverse of himself, clones of himself, and there's 3 or 4 books, and you basically, it's all the adventures of the Bobs and how they run into each other, and you have more mature Bobs and less mature Bobs.
Oh, cool.
And it's very cleverly written. Yeah, I think it was like, I'll try to find the name so I can send it to you. I can't remember exactly who wrote it. Great. So you guys, I mean, you're special ops for solving business problems, which I really like that analogy, because I think in some respects you get into the cool projects either to turn them around or to do something that's deemed impossible. Is that what you guys position yourselves in? Is to come in there and be the heavy hitters that solve a big problem?
Yeah, I think when you think about outsourcing, typically you think of putting butts in seats and, oh, I'm just going to use manpower to solve the problems. And that is the
Yeah.
exact ideal that we're against, right? We want to put a small team in place to deliver complicated digital projects. And we do so in a super open, transparent way where you always know what's going on. And we don't require any long-term agreements. I mean, we basically earn our next month's billing by solving problems and delivering solutions this month. So we want to be very integrated and work shoulder to shoulder with the business to deliver that. And so we found ourselves in these situations where there's a big code base with no documentation. The folks that wrote it are long since gone, but the business needs to invigorate their stack, and they have a business problem that still needs being solved. And the wonderful thing about the modern cloud is that the barrier of entry has reduced. You can do so much more. And these legacy stacks, they can't leverage AI in an inexpensive way. They can't leverage new data solutions. They're difficult to manage. You touch one thing, 15 other things break. And so we're really helping businesses move from technology being a barrier to realizing that modern technology is no longer a barrier. There are tons of easily accessible options that have actually reduced in price. So you can go play with the industry leader or compete against the industry leader, become the industry leader just by taking a new look at what's available to you and reapplying your business problem to it and taking that jump ahead. So we call it from the boardroom to the code review. We added CTO advisory about 18 months back so that we could participate in the discussion about ROI and about why to reinvest in the technology of the business. And then, of course, we have the teams that can then execute. So we call it boardroom to code review, write really good code, but be able to represent it cleanly in the optics at the highest level and really have an end-to-end offering there.
Yeah, I like it because often I would think that you're getting involved in modernization conversations with a customer.
Yep.
Where they have, I think a friend of mine's business, he had a 20-year-old CRM that they'd built on an Oracle backend that was costing them an absolute fortune to run. And they needed to modernize. And there was that sort of build versus buy discussion. Do you keep building your own CRM, or do you switch to a Salesforce or Dynamics or whatever else is in the market? And often the decision has been made so long ago based on the wrong kind of metrics or drivers. But to undo that is actually more difficult than it's worth in some cases. It costs a lot of time and money to fix the problem or to keep it maintained. Do you segment yourself from your development team as a CTO and service where you're not afflicted by setting up a strategy because you're not trying to sell your own service in there? You're just giving the advice that's already the usual team.
Yes and no. So I'll be honest. CTO advisory's end goal is to construct a strategy that has the right level of custom execution. So I'll use your example. I'm in this legacy Oracle, difficult to maintain, monolithic thing, CRM. And now I'm looking at, there are elements of this that sure, a NetSuite or a Salesforce would absolutely nail. The part that I find those solutions are limiting is when it comes to my customer experience. And I feel that the customer experience, like the software I'm actually putting in front of the customer, should be custom, because that's where I'm going to want to learn and grow. So it's this idea of like high value versus high need. High need stuff is like, yeah, we're all going to need compute. We're all going to need storage. We're all going to need monitoring. We're all going to need security. So let's go partner with the best in those, right? Let's go make platform choices and do a really good job partnering with the the up to the right Gartner recommended solutions and make smart stage appropriate decisions there. But when it comes to my customer, that's probably where I want to think about custom software development, because the mobile app shouldn't be something canned off the off the shelf. The website that I'm communicating my business probably shouldn't be something just canned template for $15 off the shelf. So let's talk about those things and make the right stack decision. One thing we do is we talk about the periodic table of business tools, right? We kind of leverage this chemistry and science idea, and we look at, okay, there's a column here called CRM, and there's a column here like accounting software. And we're not going to have you go build any of those because there's so many of these standard business tools categories that are out in the market, and they're well competed. And so you need to partner and configure. And when we pull the selections that the business has already made, we form this unique particle that kind of comprises the business. And then we start to map the user experience over the top of that. And we find where these tools are not quite linked together in a way that most benefits the customer. So in CTO advisory, we're establishing that. We're establishing the product vision of the company and then how the tech should play into that. And then, of course, we would love to execute those gaps and fill those gaps. And so I can't quite step completely out of being the CEO of Particle41. And I wouldn't be true to myself if I did, because I know our team is really good at executing custom or doing some of those integrations. And so I'm honest about that. However, if it is like, I'm also not going to try to get them to recreate something that is widely available in the market. So that's how I rationalize that potential conflict, which I really don't see as a conflict at all. Hey, let's go look at the market. Let's make good partnering choices. But when it comes to that layer that you're putting in front of the customer, let's design that. Let's build that. Let's be super intentional about what we do there and not opportunistic to put some off the shelf configured thing in front of the customer and expect that to nail the business.
Now, I like what you've said there. And the reason why I asked that question is sometimes that, you do get someone who's in there who's just lining it up to suit their own opportunistic needs. And I'm glad you explained it like you did. So when it comes to showing value, I mean, are you showing value through a business case to the customer, or are you showing value through some other mean, some way of measuring it?
So we love to show value really through the software development process by, features completed. Like, we're definitely agile in our upbringing. So we're going to use the agile methodology to show a natural velocity. Like, velocity is a core value of ours.
Yep.
And so we want to move quick. And then we have the CTO advisory playbook that helps people get clarity. So when you work with us, we want you to have clarity. We want you to have visibility into the process and velocity in the output, and just have really good communication throughout. And so I think that, like, within moments of talking to a CEO, I should be helping them have clarity. A lot of technologists, they use mystification to increase their value. They make it seem mysterious so that there's a dependence created. And we've taken an opposite approach where, no, it all can be explained. And even if you have zero technology experience and you're a strong business driver personality, you don't really want to care about the details. We can still explain it to you in a way where you can be clear on what the mission and the expectations should be.
Oh, that's really good. I like that too. So, I mean, what is your typical customer's experience or technology experience like? Are they, Luddites? Are they pretty experienced? And, how much education do you have to give? I'm just trying to get an idea of
it's a super wide range. I mean, we've worked with people on we have a bit of a venture studio type of option where we've worked people at the first time startup folks, and they're very much experimenting in the industry with something that they see that's missing. And we're able to guide them. In the venture studio, we even participate oftentimes in the seed round funding. So we do have a few of those. Obviously, that's going to be a small percentage to the folks that have created software, have software as a discipline, even though it's not necessarily a core competency. So they may know an industry or a particular part of the business that's not regularly digital. And so we're usually the digital partner for them with their softwares and applications and IT stacks. So it's a wide range, and we partner well with either type, but I would say the majority of folks are in digital businesses, or their business is accelerated by digital. So they're kind of becoming more of a technology company, and we like partnering that way.
I like that. Yeah. So it sounds like you've been doing this quite, I mean, you've been around 10 years, but it sounds like you've got quite a lot of sort of repeatable patterns and processes. How do you leverage, like, let's say, AI in what you guys do? Do you use a machine learning part to your business to deliver code or large language model, for example? Or is it completely, sort of, I don't know, some old fashioned way, but how do you
Yeah.
guys do it?
Well, so we are working with clients right now to determine their AI use policy. So that's how we're approaching it. Like before we go use a co-pilot to assist with coding, we are talking to clients about their particular coding environment. For example, in VR, the Common Core library that the client has created is unique to them. Not only should we not give that to AI as a recommendation, but AI is not going to know about it. It's not standard framework practice. It's not public domain. And so we find that using AI for security or AI for coding practices within that VR environment is just like non-applicable. Certainly not a public
Okay.
LLM. So there's really, in that particular use case, it just doesn't apply. Now, in more standard, like we're building a REST API and we're doing a lot of that, then I think there's some benefit to like, hey, help me, AI can help me like clack the keyboard a little less. But we're still very much looking at like, what does the client want to see and how do we specifically call out? Like, it shouldn't be a cheat code. It should be an evolution to the process. And so we're very much
Mm,
adapting to that. Like it's not a cheat code. It's not a way to cut corners. If we're going to use it, then it's going to become part of the software manufacturing process. And we're going to know how to police it. We're going to know how to observe if it's doing the right thing. In services, of course, we're seeing the demand for AI. What we're finding though is that the actual training of an LLM, taking client data, hosting an LLM, whether it be an open source one or buying enterprise licenses, and then adding to it so that it's like part of the neural net is very cost prohibitive still. So, really like extending the actual LLM to do something business wise is costly. So what we're doing is a lot of vector DB embedding, which is probably too much tech jargon, but we're taking the customer data, we're putting it into a special database alongside the LLM, and then we're embedding as the user makes the query, as the chatbot says, hey, can you help me with XYZ? We're checking against the customer data first. We're extracting the relevant customer data, and then we're asking the LLM to rephrase the answer based on what we know that's unique to us. So you can very much think of it as customer data separate from the language model or the AI, and we're just combining those two, and we can offer that in a really rapid amount of time, like less than 90 days. We can be experimenting with that, and we're able to solve most business problems at a fairly low cost doing it that way. So yeah, I think that's what the pattern that everybody is kind of playing with. Like, do I go actually invest in how to expand the LLM to my business case? And is that investment going to be worth the future benefit? Or am I just kind of collecting and organizing my proprietary data and embedding it alongside the LLM?
are all your resources US based, or are you globally based?
Oh, we're very much international. So my business partner, who I've known for 20 years, is an Indian national. So we do have a big
Yeah.
group in India, but we also love our Argentinian and Brazilian friends. And then our
Okay.
project managers and design are in the US, so they can just fully collaborate conveniently with our US based clients.
Yeah, I was just thinking about training models and all that kind of stuff. You really want to benefit from different time zones. Have that opportunity to have something done while you're sleeping.
Yeah,
So when you come in, it's working. So yeah, okay, yeah, good. So how many people are you in a business then?
we're 125 people
Oh
internationally,
wow,
globally. Yeah.
sure, that's huge. Okay, and your customers are primarily US customers, or do you also have
Yes.
global customers?
Yeah. No, we're US based on the customer side. Yeah. Serving the US market.
Oh, that's impressive. So what's your best project so far? Or do you don't not want to not want to name one?
So, you know, I have this special heart for some of the smaller ones. I'm a bit of a startup guy in my, in my background. So I love some of the smaller ones, but the enterprise ones are really compelling for the rest of the team, and we love those too. So yeah, we've done some amazing app modernizations. We helped a client with 180 apps that needed to be migrated, and we did it in 9 months. So that one was super fun.
Wow.
Um, but one I'll name because we have a published case study with is Forte Music. And I just love it because you can understand what it's for. Forte is an online music lesson platform. So rather than leave your home to take a music lesson, you can take it right out of your house with a certified teacher that might be from Juilliard or Royal College of Music. So it's certified music teachers, and so when your kids are into music, like they can access the best teachers without you even having to drive them all the way across town. And so we built their in-lesson experience and just really had a good time with their journey. Like we helped them do that in COVID and, take advantage of some of the distance learning thought processes. And then we've just seen them grow. And yeah, we just love the product.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts on the low code, no code ecosystem? Well,
I appreciate that discussion. And I think for internal applications, like for me to manage a services business, I think that's super interesting. Um, what I'm finding with low code, no code solutions is that typically, like first off, you have to understand that you will have a licensing cost forever. So that's never going away. So you're not going to reach this like place where a lot of times you'll get a build and then you'll get down to maintenance, and then you're really making a ton of margin because you've gotten into some kind of maintenance mode. So with a low code no code, that maintenance mode is going to be higher because you have to pay for the software license forever. So you just kind of have to calculate that in your models. The other thing that I feel like low code no code people feel is like, oh, I will be able to do the development myself. That is maybe a bit of a misnomer. You still need people experienced in the low code, no code solution. So sometimes I just challenge that. But if you're a business where software engineering is not your core competency, you need to get to market quickly, there's definitely a place for those solutions. What I'm seeing about from service partners that do the low code, no code is a lot of times they cut out the design step. And so what they'll do is they'll think, well, it's low code, no code. So I can just like discover as we go, and I can just throw things up on the page to the customer. So I find that the design, there's this kind of like, okay, we release the first version to the customer, and then they're like, yeah, but this is incomplete. This is incomplete because we didn't do an idea, like we didn't do design. Whereas in custom software, you're going to do Figmas, you're going to do high fidelity wireframes, you're going to make sure that you don't start cutting code until you really know what the end state looks like. And then you may have some compromises to release pieces, to kind of break up the work so you're not working towards a big bang. But yeah, I'm finding in the low code, no code execution that the design step is missed often, and that leads to
Mm.
a second iteration that oftentimes the client does not understand. And I'm working with a customer now. They had hired a different firm to do that first iteration of low code, and they're realizing the gap right now. And so in that gap, as a CTO advisor, I'm saying, okay, this is incomplete. You don't know it's incomplete. Vendor, you don't know it's incomplete because you didn't do the design. And customer, you didn't know you were going to have to be this specific about what you needed. And so the two ends are having to come together. And I believe that design process is the missing piece. So that's the pattern I'm seeing with low code, no code, is that we think it's cutting a couple of corners that
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really cutting. However, speed to market versus like building something from scratch, there can be honest to goodness advantages there. So there's still a happy medium. I just think we've learned over the past many years what a good development process looks like, and you're not shortcutting that with low code, no code. You still need to be intentional about what it is you want, and not, just not think that it's an easy button or a corner cutting.
Yeah. I mean, that's my experience as well. We built a product in Valuu, and I had someone who wasn't a developer build it the first time, and she didn't have a clue. And we've had to rebuild it. So that second iteration has been painful, but it was necessary because I think in some respects we did a prototype first and then we basically built the second version properly. And in that respect, we probably would have spent the same amount of time building a custom or bespoke as we would if we just used, as we did with the low code, no code.
Right.
So,
well, and the custom has gotten a bad name from the history, but if you go forward, the modern frameworks for custom are giving you so much out of the gate. I mean, when we're talking about React with Nest.js and then backend on Next.js, I mean, you're opening this. I come from a Ruby on Rails background, and Ruby on Rails was super streamlined to get you into managing REST APIs. And so the frameworks are cutting out so much of and then now if we do leverage some AI support, we're getting so much code written for us so quickly that I'm not sure the barrier to custom is what it was that made low code, no code such a favorable solution. Obviously, though, if you're thinking about something internal like a CRM, I mean, there's so many different choices. I think with some of that, like if you go for like a pipe drive to manage your sales process right now, just know that if you're successful in 5 years, you may be looking to go from something like that to something a little beefier that has more integrations. And maybe pipe drive answers that, right? I don't want to piss off any pipe drive friends, but like maybe they go add those integrations, and then in 5 years they have what you need, and you can stretch that. So I think like spending on your tech platform is going to be kind of part of the beast, like not to be underestimated.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think you got to find that tool stack that works for you, that balances out your spend versus your value proposition. It's been great chatting with you, Ben. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, I'm very easy to find online. My LinkedIn has a book appointment link. My website books an appointment with me, particle41.com. I love talking to folks and would love it. Like, I'm super easy to get on the phone with. And I would love to get on the phone with any of your listeners to talk about whatever is challenging you, both professionally, personally, or technically.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. We'll put your contacts in the notes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Ben. All the best.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for listening to our episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends and colleagues. Help us grow our network. Please also check out our website at www.valuu.work and our product that's on there. It's something we worked really hard on. We hope that it benefits you.